and I invited Lynn to share something that she had shared with me, and it's gaining some traction with some of the groups that I have worked with and shared this with. So I thought it would be a great thing for people to also know about. So I asked Lynn if she would share that with all of you.
Okay, so hello everyone. I am not in any way a knowledge expert or anything about this. It's a link that I picked up from the NSF Includes network. I don't know, maybe if some of the others, the folks on here are also in that network. But it's a triage tool for reimagining strategy in the context of COVID-19. And it's got this nice, what would you call this, format where you can kind of, you know, instead of, I think what most of us are doing is just seat of the pants trying to decide, you know, is this still a priority or not? It's sort of a more formal way to sit down and think about, given all the changes that have happened, is this still something that I want to do? Is this something that maybe I still want to do, but I will do it once things are back to normal? Is this something where really this is a new priority because everything has changed? Or is this something that we're just not going to do? And I love this corner here. I don't know how well you guys can see that. Maybe I can make it slightly bigger. This is the I don't know corner, which is always good to have in any process right now. So I put the link in the chat. I don't know whether you can copy the link from the chat today. If not, Jen can probably send it around by email. But just wanted, again, not an expert on this by any stretch. I had nothing to do with creating it. It just resonated with me a lot when I saw it, and I thought that it might be something that would be useful for folks to do a little bit more than seat of the pants thinking about things. So,
Lynn, this is Svetlana. For some reason, I'm a little bit foggy on the target audience. Is this at the individual nonprofit level?
I think it could be almost anything you wanted. I think that the way that this was posted is in the context of more of a
community institutions, I see.
Yeah, nonprofits, but when I went to look for it this morning to bring this to you, somebody was talking about using this as a tool, as an evaluator, to have a conversation with their whomever they were working with. So I think it could be used. And Jen, maybe you want to say some things about what you've seen so far at UNH in terms of people interested in it.
Sure. So this is something that we have definitely been thinking about at our center. So we're a STEM center. And so we have several grant-funded programs, but also we have a summer camp for kids for engineering. We have professional development that's happening under different grant things. We have career and workforce development projects. And a lot of them are in flux right now. So for us, it was a way to look at this and think about, you know, all of the projects we had, which of them would survive this the way they were, which ones needed to be rethought, but also, you know, right now our summer camp for kids, until the university gives us the yay or the nay, is in that unknown status approach. But kind of what we're doing is thinking about at least keepers, which is our engineering camp for kids. Is there a way that we can make it different to meet the needs? So can we move it over? You know, does it become the emerging priority because there's a way we can deliver this camp that's a little bit differently? And so that's how we've been kind of using it, you know. Or there are things here that we're just pausing, right? So the SRS, we're pausing on that. The fact that you saw in my listserv post were Haley and I are going back to the Zoom recordings from the NARM, and now that is you know, it's now newly prioritized. There's the SRS is not going to take our time, so now we can go and do these other projects that maybe we didn't have time for. So that's kind of how we're using it. And on the bottom, there are the samples, but there's also, what's nice is it's got instructions for using it with a group. So there's that definite, a little bit more of support for how to use it too. Has anybody else seen this or tried to use something like this right now?
I haven't seen it before, but I think anything that that promotes a thoughtful approach, you know, as opposed to a reactionary approach, I think is a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we've kind of been doing it intuitively, but I think it's nice to have a framework for this. So, I have
Yeah.
a question for both of you and Lynn. We've always had really positive relationships with program officers, and I'm assuming that program officers are understanding and that probably we should just reach out. Just occurred to me we ought to reach out directly. I'm not thinking NASA, but I'm assuming that they are appreciate the challenges of following through on certain things, right?
Yes.
Does anybody have any thoughts about that? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say yes. I mean, I'm sure that individual program officers in individual situations have different constraints upon them, but as a rule, every conversation that I've been in, we all understand that this is unprecedented, and so people are being as flexible as they can be. And I don't know if you all have seen it, but there was a overall FAQ that got posted maybe in the second week of this from NASA. That's just overall guidance for NASA grants, not specific to us. I put it on the EPO when it came out, but because there's some specific guidance that's come from the White House or OSTP or whomever it is in general about what's allowable to charge to grants in this, you know, continuing to be able to charge to grants. And then startup costs for when we're able to come back. So I would definitely recommend also looking for that. I think NSF has a similar page where they have put COVID-19 related stuff, and I think some of the other agencies probably have done something similar.
It occurred to me that if I were a program officer and I had a portfolio, that having this framework would be super helpful in terms of providing guidance to grantees as they're reporting in this quarter.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? I would love to hear if people have used this or thought about these kinds of tools, because I know that with our group, we're rethinking a lot of things. And even Amy, you're with the teaching, I would think that there might be some things that you could actually use that with too.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pass it on because like that was actually part of our meeting yesterday. And like the stuff that needs to happen, we're still trying to figure out how to make it happen. So thank you for this. Thank you.
Yeah, and there
Can
is
we
that
give a
part.
Congratulations to Amy while we're,
Yes.
'cause yay, IVSS drawing.
They're super excited. Thank you.
Yeah, and then Jeff Bowman. So Dave and Brian can pass that on to Jeff, and so Janet's on the line. So Janet, that is somebody that works in the Midwest with Dave Bedlowski and is also great buddies with Brian Campbell. And then,
Hey, Jen,
yeah,
I was going to say, Jeff had a Globe Earth Day party, and I think there were probably at least 16 students that were there, and lots with their parents and stuff. And so they did a nice job of going over and, you know, he muted everything, and then they watched the Globe presentation for a half hour. And then when their kids won, they were really excited. And then his daughter, as it turned out, on the second one, I don't know if you noticed, she came in second, although she didn't really come in any second. But I kept seeing her name there, and it kept and then it fell off right at the end. But it was really nice, and it was nice to have the folks from NASA that participated in the party. But it was really nice, not obviously the kids, that was the best part, but it was really nice from an adult perspective, I guess, to see the parents participating and paying attention and being part of the whole Globe program and process. So shouts out to him for, you know, great work, obviously. But that was a nice presentation that Tony and the Globe program did. That was really nice. So I just wanted to share that.
yeah, I agree. That's neat that they did an Earth Day party all online together. And then Amy, you work with Todd Toth, so you've got the NASA partnership there and that relationship and link, so that was great. Oh, Brian, you attended with Dorian Madelay. Cool.
It was fun for sure. Yeah.
Wow, there's like NASA representing there. Yeah, Tracy, that's a good point, that the feedback from one of the New Mexico schools was that they were thrilled with the thoughtful comments. They did a really nice job, I think, guiding the reviewers in how to make better comments than they had in the past. Amy put together something, and we're going to use actually what they used in order to guide our SRS reviews. So we're going to pull from some of that, and that's on the Globe website. So I think that seemed to be, that was one of the things I heard from GIO, was that the comments this year were over an improvement over last year. Not that they were bad last year, but there was definitely some more guidance on what to tell students. So, so Amy, you've had that experience, the feedback has been helpful? That's great. Yeah, so that guidance will be coming out very soon too for the Student Research Symposia. We are not going to have a lot of, well, who knows, right? We're still a couple days away from everybody uploading their projects. I do know that there are some teachers that said that they thought they could, but they just can't. They won't be able to upload it. So I think that we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. And I know that some of the ones that entered in the IVSS were checkboxing them for SRS for some of the teams, so that they'll be submitted to both of them if they're the exact same projects. So anybody else have anything to share? Can raise your hand or just pop on.
Just as a segue, this is Svetlana. Sorry, I'm just jumping in. Do I need to raise my hand first?
You can so.
Okay. Is that this feedback and whatever guidance was provided to the IVSS reviewers ought to be communicated to Angie. Angie, you're on. I see you.
I am here.
Ought to go into the SME guidebook that you're writing, because this is a really important role for the SMEs, is how they, and I don't know whether you're getting into that level of detail in your manual or your guidebook, but whatever you can grab in terms of the guidance that was provided would be a great, and it may already be in there, but I just thought it would be a great little section in your guidebook on tips for providing feedback on student projects, because it's such an important role for the SMEs, and clearly they're doing something right that we should codify.
Thank you. That's a great idea.
Any other thoughts to add to this? There is trivia today, so.
Hey, Jen,
Yes.
I was just going to comment too. An interesting thing happened. I did an Earth Day presentation with a class on Earth Day, on Wednesday. But one of the, I think it went kind of smooth. It went pretty good. But one of the things that I've noticed, I was wondering for other comments, they were using Google Meet because they're going through their classroom and I've never used Google Meet before. And so it was a little bit different. But one of the things that I noticed, I thought it was awful choppy. All right. And I know that when we have here, we use wireless and we're at, over 100 megs. So not the fastest, but not bad. But so one of the parents had sent a nice thing and said, thanks kind of thing, and then sent a little video of the presentation, and theirs was smooth as silk. And I was so my question is, when we're presenting, when we're doing things online, have people noticed that the quality of the broadcast on one end may look very different on another end, and maybe how they're adapting, but maybe more importantly, how you might troubleshoot that issue? And yeah, so I guess that's the kind of thing. I thought it was much choppier than maybe it really was. And so that's how I was kind of responding. I also thought, we were just dealing with elementary students, and I thought 30 minutes was plenty of time. That was a good period of time to work. So just if anybody's had any comments using, especially, like Zoom, we know, but these Google products and so on, or other things that schools might be using that we might be aware of if we're asked to help out with some presentations in classrooms.
Yeah, Lynn.
Yeah, so I'll comment on that one, but also bring in a couple other things. So what I've found is that Wi-Fi, we have pretty good Wi-Fi here, but in the afternoon it tends to drop off. That's when I tend to have trouble. So when I'm on an important thing or when I'm presenting, I try to go and use our hardwire Ethernet cable, even though it's not in the best spot and it's not really ergonomic and it drives me crazy. But that can help. I know that's not always an option. I'm not sure if anybody else knows any other way
That's a
to
good
troubleshoot that.
That's a good point, Lynn, because I was thinking the same thing. And, I should have hardwired. And then I look at my equipment, nothing can be hardwired anymore. My laptop, I can't hardwire. My iPad, I can't hardwire. And, everything has been based on this world of wireless. And I felt the same thing. I wish I could have hardwired. Maybe I used an old computer or something. And it was the afternoon, too, when we did the presentation at 1 o'clock, which is probably a pretty busy time.
That is about the worst time. There may, depending on what kind of laptop you have, there may be adapters that you could use to connect to your Ethernet, but then getting them right now might also be a challenge. I wanted to throw two other thoughts in here, though, based on some conversations that I've been in the last week. One is the whole distance learning scenario is highly variable across the country in terms of how well it's working. And I've seen a couple of articles really talking about the fact that we shouldn't be talking about school at home. We should be talking about, how can you really help kids learn? And it doesn't have to look like what it looks like when they're in school. And so to me, right there is an opportunity for Globe, because Globe has these authentic things where you can get kids outside and doing, and then analyzing data. In a similar vein, yesterday I was on a panel discussion with it was a bunch of NOAA people primarily, but one of the things that came, though they had some university people on and so they were talking about how to work with university level students in the current situation, graduate students. And one of the things that came up a couple times from them was this idea of either micro networks of observations, or just in general getting students to make observations themselves where they are, and then analyze their own data as a way to step towards understanding, analyzing larger data sets. And I think that applies not only to undergrad and grad students, but certainly could apply to some Globe students. So I just wanted to throw those out there because thinking back to that emerging priorities or newly prioritized things, there may be some ways that you all can shift a little bit your focus and your thinking and really help students have some good experiences with learning at home, as opposed to sitting at a screen for hours at a time. So just wanted to share those.
Yeah, I'll add to that Marcy CV at the University of Iowa, when this whole thing went, so Marcy CV's been a Globe partner for a while, and then she kind of dropped out and is now back and pretty active. When a school, when her school went online, the University of Iowa, she, one of the classes went and took up Globe completely as part of the science curriculum, because it was easy for them to kind of put that into it. So all of a sudden she's a resource for doing Globe for one of the faculty members. So it's pretty interesting that Globe came to play such a large role in that. Anything else? Amy, it looks like you're definitely doing a lot with Globe then, with nature journaling and with using the Globe Observer. Well, you've got a whole group of us here, so anytime you want to ask any of us for help, I'm sure we're all available and willing.
If you're working through something or doing something with your students and you think, gee, I wish I had this resource or this particular material, let us know, because that feedback is helpful. I mean, we have ideas of what we think, where we think the gaps are in terms of the supporting resources for Globe Observer. But if you're going through things and are like, oh, I just wish I had this, or if this were just, we'd love to have that feedback, Amy.
I will. Thank you. I know some of the kids aren't allowed outside of their house, but they're like observing like the trees outside their windows or like the clouds, and then like they're telling me. So like we're keeping a record of it like at school, and then like in their nature journal. And but I think that some of them are taking data. At least they're telling me that they're taking data with the Globe Observer app. So, but like it's just with their home. So I can't, it's like not tied to my school, right? Like there's not, like if they're just doing with the Observer, like I can't get it tied to my school, right? Is that?
You actually, you can, they can,
Okay.
there's a referral code for your school that you can have them connect their Globe Observer account, and it will actually, it will actually go into like get connected to your school.
Okay, cool.
We unfortunately it doesn't with schools. It doesn't quite work to go just through the app. But Amy, if you put your email in the chat, I can send you directions for how to have them do that through the Globe website.
Well, thank you so much. That would be good. I'm trying to like balance it so that like I can still have them do stuff, but that like the parents don't yell at me too. So
Yeah,
it's a tightrope.
Yeah, and we know that not like it depends on your circumstances whether you have the ability to get outside or not. But I think, yeah, having them do observations at the window or something is, you know, it's not ideal data, but in these circumstances, go with it.